Welcome to The Real Grind, hosted by Karen Gowans and produced by Armand Delanchian. This episode is brought to you by 4D Legacy Studios.
Welcome back to The Real Grind, where storytellers, creators, and filmmakers come to sharpen their edge. I'm your host, Karen Gowans. This episode is brought to you by Lux Leather USA, where craftsmanship meets character. Specializing in premium handcrafted leather jackets designed for those who lead, not follow. Every piece is built with precision, durability, and timeless style. If you're serious about how you show up in business, on set, or in life, Lux Leather USA delivers a look that speaks before you do. Visit www.luxleatherusa.com and use code LUX2026 at checkout for 15% off your purchase. Again, that's LUX2026 for 15% off. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Armand Delanchian, founder and content director of 4D Legacy Studios, to The Real Grind. His studio has produced 3 feature films, now streaming on Amazon Prime Video, Tubi, Apple TV, and YouTube TV. Armand is also the producer of this podcast, The Real Grind, helping bring new episodes to life that empower indie filmmakers to navigate today's crazy saturated landscape. Thank you for joining us today, Armand.
Hi, Karen. Thanks for having me. What an intro. I love it.
Thank, thank you, Armand. Thank you. So I know many of our listeners are incredibly curious about you. This is a much awaited interview. A lot of our listeners are anticipating it since you're the producer of the Real Grind podcast, in addition to being the founder of 4D Legacy Studios. So you wear many hats. You're a film producer, content director, and AI filmmaking strategist. It looks like there's nothing you can't do. So Armand, let's dive in. You founded 4D Legacy Studios in 2019, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, let's take a moment to share the services that 4D Legacy Studios provides with our listeners.
Sure, sure. So we started, first of all, thank you for the question. But our services are a wide range of services, really. When we started in 2019, we just started by doing film production. And as our company grew a little bit, we try to expand more and more. These days, not only we try to produce feature films and episodic TV shows, but we also are dabbling into helping filmmakers get their movie out there and help them basically produce their films in this saturated market. So we go from basically pre-production, production, post-production, distribution, packaging, marketing, all that stuff that goes along with getting a movie out there. We even help filmmakers, position their film to see where they can monetize the best, especially in this saturated market. It's so hard to monetize sometimes with independent films, and in full transparency, independent films struggle to monetize just because there's so much content out there. So we try to find the right audience, target the audience so to make sure the filmmaker is making at least their budget back, which, sometimes is difficult. And I personally had to learn from hard way, but I learned it, and which I'm glad I did. Now it makes things much easier for us. And we also expanded into other things like SEO optimization, marketing, producing ads for the films, or any brand really. What else do we do? My gosh, we do so much. We also do ad placements if the filmmaker needs that assistance. So yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell. That's what we do. And
Mhm.
yeah, but there's a lot of moving parts to our company, which I kind of like because it's the only way to survive these days in this market, really.
Yes,
So.
that totally makes sense. Now, so many filmmakers are eager for their films to have visibility. Can you describe the process, the steps involved when 4D Legacy Studios obtains distribution deals for filmmakers? What criteria must filmmakers and films meet in order for 4D Legacy Studios to secure a distribution deal?
So I think one of the main things we look for if we get a film to distribute is usually just look at the quality of the film. Um, this is kind of strange to say, but the first thing we look at is the audio quality, the visual quality, because if you're doing streaming channels, they usually look at if it's going to meet their criteria, which is audio and visual first. And then if the story is good, even better. What I say to filmmakers, any film you make, there's an audience for it. It just depends how you position it, but it needs to meet that technical aspect of it, which is again, very good audio, 4K, quality, making sure the editing is smooth and well done. And then the distribution comes. The distribution is the easy part, Karen, believe it or not.
Really?
Because, yeah, because I feel like filmmakers can even distribute on their own if they want to go through the steps. The problem they face usually is how to position it to monetize. And I think that's what filmmakers want is, okay, I made this product. How am I going to make a couple of dollars on my movie? Sometimes filmmakers, like when we started, I didn't even care if well, I shouldn't say that. I did care to make my budget back, but even if I made part of the budget in 6 months or a year, I would be happy just because the market is so saturated. Does that make? I mean it's just the way we look at films these days. Attention span has gotten less. You're competing with TikTok, you're competing with Facebook
Yes.
Shorts, or on YouTube Shorts. It's just, or Instagram for that matter. So filmmakers have to really think about how they're going to position the film before they even go into production. Uh, uh, Also, although I've met filmmakers that are so passionate about their film, which makes sense. You're passionate, you just want to get it done. I was one of them. I just want to get my movie done. I've been working on it for so long. I just want to see it, right? And I just
Yes.
went, yeah, so I just went into it without thinking how to position it. And
Hmm.
then I think about positioning it, but it has to work reverse. You have to know where you're going to put it, how you're going to distribute it, so you don't lose your shirt while you're making the movie.
Yes.
Um, yeah,
Yes.
and also for your investors, if you have investor money, you don't want to lose their money because they'll never come back to you again.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yes. That totally makes sense. Thank you for sharing that information.
sure,
That
sure, no
that
problem.
that's great. That totally makes sense. So right now is an extremely exciting time for 4D Legacy Studios right now. The whole team is fired
Yes,
up, and 4D Legacy Studios' screenplay, Sophie's Miracle, was selected as a finalist at the
yes.
highly acclaimed Your Script produced competition. And you also recently produced, directed, and wrote the screenplay for the film Haunted, which will be released in September of 2026. This is such exciting stuff. Can you tell our listeners what Sophie's Miracle and Haunted are about?
Sure, sure, Karen. So Sophie's Miracle came about. Um, this is kind of funny, but I've been always fan of good Christmas films. It's just it's a nice time of the year for me and for my family. So I always was attracted to Christmas films, and also faith-based films do really well during that time period. Um, and so what I wanted to do, I wanted to create something that resonated with the audiences. So we developed this film called Sophie's Miracle, which we're still working on. Um, the screenplay was written by Susan Collegian, which she wrote a beautiful script. The story, I gave her the story and the idea about, and we collaborated for her to write the movie or the script. And the story is about basically hope, redemption. It's about love. It's about a struggling bakery owner who's dealing with her own faith and hope and belief. And I don't want to give too much away, but her son is not doing too well, and so it's that struggle and the idea of faith, how that comes into play. So that's pretty much what Sophie's Miracle about. It's um, I really, that story really resonates with me just because of this bakery owner, how resilient she is. And
Yes.
so it really made an impact on me when I read the script after Susan was done with it. I thought, man, this is really good. And I think that's why we got to be finalists at the festival your script produced, which was it was a really pleasant surprise to us. We were really happy about that. And then I went ahead and started doing a proof of concept for the film, a very
Hmm.
small proof of concept to show visual for
Okay.
people who want to get in, behind it. So we started that. So we're there right now, and we're trying to really put the whole thing together. I don't, I'm hoping it could be released this year, but it'll just depend on so many variables, such as are we going to get post-production done quicker? Are we going to get some of the reshots done? Things like that. So we're working on that. Um, and then Haunted, which is it's complete opposite of Sophie's Miracle. It's a psychological thriller, really. It's about a man who's dealing with his own conscience and he's haunted by his own conscience. And this is not a feature film. It's an episodic TV show, basically. So
Oh,
there's about 8 episodes. The first episode is gonna come out September 2026, and
hmm.
then the second episode, third, fourth, and we'll see how it does. Hopefully, hopefully it does really well that we can make the second season, but I don't know. It just depends how well it does. So,
Okay. All right.
yeah, yeah,
Interesting. Wow. Now, Armin, you have expressed that AI is an external tool that is separate from the meaning of a film. You view
yeah,
AI as not being a threat to the meaning of a film. Although you feel it's an art form with substance, you also
yeah,
view it as being merely like a painter's brush. So
yeah,
you feel that AI can't diminish the meaning of a film or pose a threat to it. Your viewpoint is really interesting considering the current ongoing heated debate about AI in the film and TV industry. Can you
yeah.
elaborate on your point of view for our listeners?
Sure, sure, Karen. I think that's a great question. I'll be the first one to tell you that AI is definitely a threat. I know a lot of people are very, uh, especially content creators or industry people who've been in the business for a long time as a threat. And I completely understand that. However, as a producer, the way I look at AI is just another tool for me to use to keep my costs down. That's the only thing I look at it. AI cannot create, um, I don't know, authentic story. It still needs that human touch to make the movie resonate with audiences. Uh, I know we can do a lot of things visually, enhance the visuals and the sound, but it can't enhance the emotional connection in a movie. So that's why when sound, when movies started, they didn't have any, it was silent movies. And when the sound came out, a lot of people were threatened by it because some of the actors felt like their voice isn't good enough for recording. It sounded strange on screen, so they were threatened by it. But filmmakers took that, elevated it, and then films started be shot with color. It was black and white, then it was color. Then it went in, they were shooting it on 16 millimeters, or I should say 35 millimeter. And to this day, some of the films are shot in 72 millimeters, which is incredible. It's beautiful. But then it came digital, shooting the films digitally, and that brought costs down. Now we're at this juncture, which AI is creating visuals. So it's just an evolving thing in movie making. I feel like it's just another tool. The more you know about it and how to use it, uh, it enhances your story, hopefully. And again, I really want to reiterate this because I think this is gonna make filmmakers to tell a better story because they have to if they're gonna resonate with people. If it's just AI, it doesn't have that emotional connection. But if it's a
Mhm.
good story,
Yes,
it connects with people. I don't think people would care too much about the visuals, but they care about what's happening to these characters, the
yes,
storyline, things like that. So that's how I look
exactly.
at it. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Wow. Well, that's a very thought-provoking, refreshing angle on
Yeah,
AI.
right. Yeah, yeah. No, I
Yeah.
mean, I think, Karen, AI is not something that people can turn away from it. A lot of huge studios are using it now. The problem is that you can't stop technology as much as you want to. I'm hoping there'll be some rail guards around it, but it just depends what kind of rail guards they're going to put around it. So we'll
Okay.
see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you think the future of filmmaking and content creation looks like in general? Where do you see things heading? Like you've
Yeah.
answered this for the most part, but can you elaborate further, like with regards to AI streaming saturation and changing audience habits? How is that going to impact independent filmmaking specifically, this a niche?
Yeah, I think that's a real good question, and I've been pondering when you asked it just now, how that would affect it. And my feeling is that this is a great time for independent filmmakers, and I'll try to unpack it a little bit. Uh, I think it's a great time because there are so many tools under your disposal that you don't need huge budgets to make your project anymore.
Mm,
And what I'm saying is that AI drops the price on how you produce a movie because it can create visuals. You still need to be on set to shoot certain things, but the AI can cut down on post-production. It can cut down on sound design, perhaps. It can cut down on some, I don't know, nifty shots you want to do with the camera. I mean, it cuts down on that particular aspect of it technically. And I also think that the future of filmmaking is positioning your film correctly from the get-go and grow your audience. It
yes.
used to be, um, I don't know, back in the 90s, 80s, when there was no streaming, people went to the theater, and that's another whole thing, unfortunately, these days. Uh, After the pandemic, theater goers really went down. And then back in those days, in the 90s and 80s, not to date myself too much here, but people went to the theater. People went to it was a whole event. And um, smaller stories had a chance in a theater. That's the only place you could go to see a 90-minute movie, romantic comedies, things like that. These days, if the movie is not a spectacle, it's huge. It's at least 2 hours, which I think it's really long movies. Um, it's hard to get it in a theater because the costs are so high and people aren't going to the theater for smaller films. They just simply say, you know something? I'll just wait till it comes out on my Netflix subscription or my Hulu or my Tubi or Amazon, and I'll just watch it there. Why go to the theater anymore? Because, but if it's a spectacle, meaning it's a large film, they want to see it on big screen like Avatar or like Dune. Those are meant to see in a theater because you need that big screen. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but those movies are also incredibly expensive to make. The budgets are really high and a lot of independent, I mean, I don't know if they know or not, but it's not just the production cost. It's also the marketing cost that adds to the entire uh, the budget of the movie. So
Mm-hmm.
if for example, and I'm giving an example, if let's say Avatar cost 200 million to make, they put another 100 or 150 million just to market the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see how those dollars quickly grow, and the studio is hoping they'll make their money back.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they're strategic about it. Nobody wants to lose $300 million, but but also they make a lot of they do a lot of market research to make sure they target their audience. But these days, as an independent filmmaker, you better know who your audience is, and you better target that particular audience if you're gonna monetize, if you're gonna make another film, if you're gonna continue wanting to produce constantly. Because if you don't have your audience already in place, you're gonna get lost.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Karen, um, I'm not saying that you can't grow your audience. Maybe new audiences will find you, but at the beginning, you need to create a buzz around your film. So at least you have a dedicated audience that wants to see your particular voice, your particular film, that particular story. So you can continue making other films.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That is totally logical. That totally makes sense. So,
Yeah.
what was your reason for choosing to generate 75% of the TV series Haunted using AI?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, So I'll be honest, very full transparency, it was the cost. The cost, it brought the cost down so much that we want to give it a try to see how we can do it. And also it's a learning curve for us as well. Creating with AI, this is a whole brand new game for us, and it's a new tool. So not only it was experimental to see if it can do it, but it was also because of just simply the cost was much easier to deal with
Mm-hmm.
and handle. Karen, AI is great if you want to make a movie like a sci-fi, sorry, not a sci-fi so much, but like an action film or a thriller film. It lends itself to that because you sometimes don't need too much dialogue. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like a lot more visuals than it is dialogue, but those visuals need to make sense. It can't just be visuals after visual. So I think that particular part of it lends itself to that. But the reason we did it again with Haunted was simply because I learned a lot how AI works and you know what you need to do to make it look authentic as much as possible, you know, and and it's the new technology, which I'm all for new technology and learning and figuring out how this can enhance the story. That's the main thing, really. At the end of the day, it's the story. It's again, it's not the visuals, it's not the sound, it's not the all the bells and whistles of AI. It's what the story can do and resonate with audiences.
Yes. All right. Now,
Yeah.
you have started filming Sophie's Miracle and have chosen not to utilize AI. What made you choose live action instead of AI for this film?
Yeah, good question. So it's not, we have used AI in the proof of concept. Not the actual film, but the proof of concept to have a visual for like investors to see, just to have a visual. It's not the exact movie, but to me, Sophie's Miracle needs to be live action simply because it's a contained movie. There's a lot of storytelling. There's a lot, it's not an action movie. It's not a jumping out of a building movie or jumping out of a helicopter and blowing things up. It's a charming Christmas movie that needs to have that connection between characters. And that's why I'm adamant about making it in a live setting, not so much as AI produced film.
All
And
right.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. So
Does that answer your question? I don't know if I answered that right or not.
that was
Okay.
very thorough. That was perfect, Armin.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
Now, your ethnic heritage is Armenian and your
Yes.
faith is Orthodox Christian. It's interesting how these aspects of your identity have played a role in your filmmaking pursuits.
Yeah.
You've done faith-based stuff like Sophie's Miracle and The Lost Apostle, and your
Yeah.
movie Pride Jewel, which we'll talk about later, draws
Sure.
on your interest in Armenian subject matter.
Yeah.
You also produce The Lost Apostle with an interest in faith-based films. What are your thoughts in general on Christian films? What inspired you to enter this segment of the film industry?
Sure. Sure. So I'm very proud of my Armenian heritage. I think it's the faith, the Armenian community as being Armenian Orthodox is very important to me and to a lot of my community. And one of the reasons, first of all, I don't know, Karen, if you know or not, but Armenia was the first nation in 301 that adopted Christianity. And
Wow.
Lost Apostle that we're still working on. It's not completely produced. We're still developing and working on it to get it out there somehow. Is that it's about actually Apostle Bartholomew who ended up in Armenia, and because of that, the nation turned Christian. And it was because of one of Jesus's apostles that happened, and I feel this connection to that. I feel like it's extremely important to tell those kind of stories and inspire people of what faith does and what it can do and the hope of these kind of things, and not in a preachy way, but just in a historical way that this is what happened. And so when I make these films or I get involved with them, there's a deep connection to that faith and to tell that story and the Armenian story. There aren't that many stories about the Armenians as far as I don't know, to the masses, and I want to see if I can make that change and tell those stories because I think it's important. I think people will find it inspiring. I think it would resonate with them. And frankly, as far as the lost apostle, that to me is just simply very interesting story to me. It resonates with me deeply, and of course, Sophie's Miracle resonates with me too. Any project I guess I'm involved with, it resonates with me. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. But this one, I don't know. There's something about it that I have a very deep connection to it, and because of my, I think, Armenian heritage and the country itself and all the churches in Armenia that are so beautiful and
Mm.
yeah, yeah. And you know, the Armenians, if you don't mind, indulge me a little bit, but I was going to just simply say the Armenians have gone through a lot with a lot of, you know, challenges throughout the history of the country. So I feel like bringing these stories to light is important, not only for the Armenian community, but for the general public and the masses who enjoy films like these, you know, faith-based films.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah,
Wow. That's wonderful. So my understanding is there's also a psychological thriller in the works too.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm in suspense about it. Anything you would like to share about this?
We are working on a. All I can tell you about this one, it's in the very early stages, Karen, that I'm trying to really get it done. Is a story of a. God, this is funny. And I'm a big, huge fan of EDM. I don't know if you know what EDM is, but electronic
No.
dance music.
Oh,
Electronic
okay.
dance music. It's
Okay.
very, it's, people are gonna make fun of me because of that, I think. But, but I remember that there are these huge raves that
Yes.
happen
Yeah.
and these EDM festivals. These are
Hmm.
all EDM, you know. And the story takes place in one of these raves, and
Oh.
how, yeah, it's a mystery basically.
Hmm.
And what happens to our main character when she attends one of these EDMs or these raves or these parties, and the characters around her. It's a very interesting story, and it's full of soundtrack for that particular film. And that's
Hmm.
why I wanted to do it because of the soundtracks. I just
Yeah.
like the music, so I want to make sure I incorporate it into that
Hmm.
into the film. So hopefully I'll get that done and let's see where it takes us. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. That is really cool. That sounds absolutely amazing, spectacular.
Thanks. Thanks.
So
Yeah.
it's such an amazing time for 4D Legacy Studios, considering it now owns Lux Leather USA, an
Yes.
e-commerce company that sells leather jackets and accessories. So
Yeah.
in addition to being an accomplished filmmaker, you're now also an entrepreneur in the apparel industry. How has your experience with filmmaking been beneficial when creating commercials for Lux Leather USA?
Um, so Lux Leather USA kind of dropped in my lap, to be honest. I had no desire of doing any kind of e-commerce like that. It wasn't my forte at all. But uh, I was approached like, hey, can you make a commercial for this Lux Leather? And I said, yeah, we can do commercials. And of course, you know, with these clothing brands these days, it's mostly AI created, live action created, you know, to, and the focus is really on the product, not so much the commercial surroundings or the visuals itself, but it's more about the product and what it can do. So I start doing that, and then they said they're trying to sell the entire business altogether, and I talked to a couple of my partners, and so I said, "Is this something we want to get into? Because we can expand our studio, and we can do the marketing and do that and sponsor." And we are sponsoring this show, of course, which is great. So we decided let's just take on the business altogether. So now we own Lux Leather as well, and but it has nothing to do with the production side of our studio at all. We still do our feature films and things. This is just another extension of the 4D Legacy Studios, just another arm to get involved with e-commerce because we know what a large business that is. And we thought leather goods, it's something that is sort of um, luxury, and also people always need clothing, and
Yes.
and actually for our latest projects, we're really even working with some of the designers put the clothing in our films because we
Mm.
think it'll work great as our custom designers working with us to put it in some of our future films that we're going to be doing. And like in
Yes.
in Haunted, you're going to see some of the products from Lux Leather that's in the movie or in the episodic TV show itself. So
Hmm.
it's all about, to me, it's all about growth. It's all about uh, not pigeonholing ourselves in one direction. And I'll be honest, I think that's the way to operate these days. Uh, I always take Amazon as an example. Amazon started selling books, and now they are into movies, they are into other products, they are into pharmacy delivery, they're in everything. And that's the only way, not that we're going to be Amazon. I hope one day we can be Amazon. I don't know. But but I'm just saying you need to be involved with a lot of different things if you want to grow as a business, and to make films, to make content, to be involved with digital media. You just cannot be in one thing anymore. It's hard to do that these days because there's so much competition.
Hmm.
So that was one of the reasons we want to take on Lux Leather, and I'm glad we did. It's a really nice, and we're working hard to grow the brand as much as we can.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, you have also been part of the jury for the Red Rock Film Festival. I know you were doing some Red Rock stuff in July
Yes.
of
Yes.
last year. Tell me about the Red Rock Film Festival. How long have you been involved with this film festival?
Yeah, the director of the film, that film festival, approached me and said, "Hey, you want to be a judge? We're just gonna send you movies and take a look and give us opinions. Basically, that's how they judge the films." And I said, "Yeah, that would be a lot of fun, actually. I want to see what's out there and what the new movies are, independent filmmakers are doing." And yeah, I mean, it's a great experience. It was a great experience. I'm not doing it this year, but it was a great experience for me just to see all these different films that come through. And there were a lot of documentaries that I saw, which was just wonderful, I thought. There were some feature films I saw. Some needed work, but what film doesn't, in my opinion? Every film has a little something they need to work on. But that's just my opinion. That's just my humble opinion. My opinion can be completely different than the next judge. But it was just great to see all these great filmmakers telling their story. It was incredible. So it was a great experience for me.
That's great. So, can you tell our listeners about the launch of the Five Film Initiative?
Oh, yeah. You heard about that, huh, Karen?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've been, so let me back up for a second. I think the biggest challenge for indie filmmakers, well, for any filmmaker, any director, is financing of a film. Where are you going to get the money to make the movie? And that's hard. And I think that unfortunately in the independent space, um, roughly 95 to 97% of movies that are independent lose money simply because again, I keep going back to this positioning and marketing and things like that. A lot of filmmakers make their movie, but they run out of money for marketing, which is really the key for anything is the marketing. It's not so much finishing the film. So I think this film initiative is basically I want to come up with a model that it's affordable and low budget so we could make these constantly create content. So the five initiative is basically people who are interested in collaborating with us on a specific film. They invest roughly about $7,200 a year, and we want to make a film about, and I know a lot of filmmakers are going to say that's crazy, but we want to make a film for about 15K, which is basically $15,000, because we rely on. It's been 2 years we've been working with AI, and we know how to bring the costs down. Now, the basically the 15K is for post-production and some of the live action shots that we need actors to be on the set and do those things so we could, put it in the movie. But to us, a lot of people say 15K, how can you make a movie for 15K? That's impossible. And my answer to that is that these are not blockbuster films. We're not making Avatar. We're not making, I don't know, Mission Impossible. This is not theatrical releases. This is going straight to streaming, which most audiences live in right now. Most audiences are not in the theater, but they're on the streaming channels. So we wanted to focus on that. How can we make a movie that's low in price, yet it's going to get a lot of eyeballs on it when it goes into streaming? And that's why we came up with this initiative that people who are interested to collaborate with us for $7,200 a year for the next 5 years for 5 different films. We're looking at it as a portfolio. If one film doesn't do well, the next film will do better, or even, I feel like all our films are going to do well, but that's just my confidence in what I think our films can do and the stories that we have lined up. But I think that once they have a portfolio of content, like 5 films or 6 films or whatever, then one of those films or 2 of those films can be a breakout. And if it's a breakout, you're talking about a lot of monetization in those films because it's resonating with the masses. But the price of the movie is kind of low. We're not spending millions of dollars. We're not spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. So mitigating the risks are much lower for a lower budget film than it is for $1 million movie or a 5 million or a 10 million. So that's one of the reasons we want to get involved with that. Um, I also think that this kind of model is doable. It's not astronomical amounts, so the investors can say, I'm not losing, my shirt in this venture. It's because filmmaking, Karen, is a high risk investment. You never know how it's going to do. Big studios feel the same way. Even Disney that was making films are always worried about that they're putting 250 million into a movie. They're hoping they get their return. But if they don't, they have their other films have made so much money that can cover the losses for a movie that loses money, right? But they also don't want to just completely lose everything. So our model is on a very smaller scale to make it more appetizing for collaborators, investors, whoever that wants to get involved with this kind of initiative.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure,
That's so
sure.
interesting. Wow. Your entrepreneurial journey, Armin, has been nothing short of amazing. It's been absolutely spectacular. So let's talk about how this all began. Let's discuss your early years.
Sure.
I'm aware that your passion for the film industry began as a child, and watching the Bruce Lee film Enter the Dragon was an incredibly inspiring experience for you. You were
Yeah.
living in Iran at the time while your
Yes.
father was working for the British Embassy. Please tell me about the thoughts that came to mind when you watched Enter the Dragon.
Yeah. Well, oh my God, that's great. So my mom, my mom was wonderful, just incredible woman. She used to take me to the theater every Friday afternoon. And I think part of it was just to keep me quiet, too. Just like, okay, let's go to the theater and just have you not go crazy at the house. Anyway, so every afternoon we would go to this small theater, and it was just great. And I don't know, what happened. I was into a little bit martial arts when I was younger,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
just having fun with it. I wasn't, a black belt or a blue belt or any of those kind of stuff. I was just, would see something and I go, oh, I can do that, like any kid would, I guess.
Yeah.
So when this movie came out, I was just mesmerized for some reason. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just the action. I never seen anything like that before. And this guy, my God, this was long, long time ago. And the movie was out for a very long time. I think it was like a repeat of that movie, like they were re-releasing it or something like that.
Okay.
And so it was just me and my mom and few other people in the audience. Like the theater wasn't full. I can remember that much. I think it was like maybe 30 people or something like that, or 20 people. And when I saw it, I was like, wow, I think that's what I want to do. That's it. That's what I want to do. There was something, I guess, magical when the lights went down, the movie started. I had I don't know, mom always used to bring these great sandwiches inside the
Mm.
theater. And,
Hmm.
you eat, you have your Pepsi and you're watching the movie. Oh, it was just a great memory for me with my mother. And, yeah, she was just wonderful, and she always encouraged me. And so we watched that, and I was like, "That's it. I think that's what I want to do. I want to make films. I want to tell stories any way I can. I want to act. I want to direct. I want to do everything about it." And basically, that's, I think, when it happened. I think my mother, in hindsight, wished that that didn't happen. I went into something else, like in another field completely. But yeah, that's what happened to me.
That is so interesting, Armin. Some
Yeah.
people, like yourself, knew what type of career they wanted to pursue since childhood. Lisa Stevens, who was featured in episode 5, opened
Yes.
her
Yes.
own dance studio, Body Electric, at a tender young age and later became a choreographer. Her interest in dance hasn't waned. She's still at it. I find that so interesting. So, Armin, when you look back and reflect on your childhood, were there activities you did in addition to watching films that were early signs, early hints of a burning, unrelenting desire to make films?
Oh, that's yeah. I mean, I think I was always wanting attention. Oh, my siblings are gonna kill me. But yeah, I think if they listen to this podcast, I don't know, but I'll let them know. But I always wanted attention, and I was always like the center of attention. I was the
Oh,
youngest of everyone, and I don't know, I loved music, and I loved telling stories and
mhm,
acting and things
mhm,
like that. And that's what I did, and that was part of me. And as I, you know, grew older, I got involved. Well, something, I didn't get involved as much in theater until I graduated high school. And then I really got into it. I was really into it after, I think, 18, 19. I was really getting into acting and theater, the theater scene, and writing plays, things like that. But yeah, and I'm so glad that I found that passion when I was younger, because I can't see myself not doing it. And God knows I tried, because it's not an easy path. Being in filmmaking, theater arts, acting, it's a rough life. It's you never know when your next project is gonna come. You're always looking where you can position yourself to survive in the business. I know a lot of my friends who went into the business, you know, they had rough situations in their lives because they couldn't find the break. I think a lot of people who are actors, directors, filmmakers in the show business field, they, I know we always hear about the great success stories, and it's great and all that, but I don't think a lot of people hear about all the people who didn't make it and what
Yes.
rough life they had, and they stuck it through, but the circumstances or luck, a lot of this I'm a firm believer in this business. Luck has a lot to do with this business. It's just not your talent anymore. It's where you're, right place, right people, somebody's in a good mood and green lights your movie and you're on your way. Not to say you can't, you need to be talented to stay in the business, but I'm just saying, you know, that that kind of luck, not everybody has it. It doesn't happen. And so there are a lot of people who are um, have a tough time with that. But to me, it was, even if I don't have the circumstances, it felt like I have to do it. There was a hole I felt like that I needed to fill all the time. And it was through writing, creativity, making something, because I tried to put it aside for a long time. I said, that's it. I don't want to do this anymore. This is crazy. This is no living. This is not a life. This is not, I mean, how many years are we supposed to follow this dream? But then I came to the conclusion that I can't put it away, unfortunately. It's just part of me. And I think a lot of actors and a lot of artists feel the same way, and that's why they stick it out for so long.
Yes.
Because uh, you know, sometimes you get to a point, it's not the money anymore. Like, I know money is great and you want to monetize and you want to survive in the business, but at a point you go, you know something, I'll do something else, but I can't put this aside. I constantly need to create. I need to do this. And if it happens, great. If it doesn't, on my deathbed, I don't have any regrets. I did it. I
Yes.
did what I wanted to do. So that's how I look at it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some parents get nervous when their children express interest in a career in the arts because the arts can be risky. As you
Yeah.
mentioned before, you know what people say about starving artists and how
Yeah.
unstable creative careers can be. When you
Yeah.
were in your late teenage years and your interest in the film industry was continuing to grow, did you discuss this aspiration much with
Oh,
your parents? How did they respond? Were they supportive?
um, I'm lucky that I had parents who loved me very much and they gave everything they could uh, to their children, and we were very lucky that way. And we owe a huge thank you to our parents for putting us in the positions, not just me, but my siblings as well. And um, the thing was that yes, they were concerned. They were constantly saying, "Look, okay, we know you want to do this thing, fine." They never took it seriously because they knew how difficult it is. to make it in the business. So they were going, okay, no problem, but get a degree, get something that you can fall back on. God forbid it doesn't work out. How are you going to survive? What are you going to do? So in that way, I don't know. It was something in me too that thought about that a little bit. Instead of just throwing my hands in the air and say, I'm just gonna do this forever and I'm not gonna look at other things. I said, okay, well, it doesn't hurt. I mean, I'm going to college. I can get a degree, but at the same time, I can do my theater arts or my creativity and see where it takes me. And that's what I did. Um,
Hmm.
and it worked out okay. It was okay. But again, um, the arts took over. And it's just like I said, it's part of me and it's always been with me. But my family was always supportive and they really helped a lot. And their love and their compassion was just incredible. So
Hmm. All right.
yeah,
Your father was an electrical engineer. Your brother is a clinical pharmacist, and one of your two sisters is also in the pharmacy business. Your
yeah,
other sister worked on the business and financial side of the fashion industry. She wasn't really involved with the creative end of fashion.
yeah,
These fields that your siblings worked in can be viewed as very practical fields, very practical professions. What was
yeah.
it like to be the only creative in the family?
Lawyer, look, yeah, I mean, it was different. I mean, it was, uh, the thing was that what I love about our family is that even though um, you're not in a practical field, they support you. They don't put you down about it. They go, okay, fine, but here are the facts too. They are realists, and I like that because you need to be a realist in this kind of business. You can't just be dreaming forever. I mean, you want to get things done, hopefully, and hopefully you want to make a living at it. And I've been lucky, that has happened in certain films or theater pieces or whatever that I've done in my lifetime. But again, a lot of people don't have that, right? They don't have that support or whatnot. But my siblings were always supportive, but they also had that skepticism, like, come on, you know, maybe you should be a lawyer, maybe you should go be a doctor.
Yeah,
How about
yeah,
pharmacy? We got two people in our family who are in that field. Why don't you go be a
yes.
pharmacist?
Hmm.
But I couldn't get away from, I guess, my passion, as they say. I don't know. I know
Hmm.
that sounds very um, artistic, I guess. That's the word I'm looking for. But that was it. It was pure love for this kind of business. It's pure love. It has nothing to do with trying to make millions and millions and billions of dollars. It's just simply this pure love I have for creation, looking at other artists, what they're doing, what they're creating, how much can I learn, what stories can I tell that it'll resonate with people and they want to see it again. So, I can't put a dollar amount. It's priceless to me. I can't put a dollar amount on those kind of things. So yeah, that's how my siblings were when I was growing up. So
That's quite fascinating.
yeah,
That makes me think of the actor Simu Liu. I recently read his memoir, and in that memoir, he describes working as an accountant at Deloitte
yeah,
in Toronto
yeah,
and being unfulfilled. He felt that he wasn't performing well as an employee, and there was a lot of anxiety. He was feeling down because he wasn't finding the work interesting. He wasn't feeling exhilarating. He was dragging his feet each day
yeah,
to go
yeah,
to work.
Yeah.
And his performance was really suffering when he was working. He was always distracted, trying to find other things to do than actually fulfilling his duties because he was finding the work boring and difficult. And one day he was let go. According to some articles, he was fired. Other articles described his departure as a
Yeah.
layoff. But long story short, it didn't work out at Deloitte, and Deloitte ended things. And Samu had a strong interest in acting.
Yeah.
So he decided to explore it. And he didn't have any contacts at all. He didn't know a soul in the industry. So guess where he went to try to find acting jobs? He went on Craigslist. And
Jeez.
yes, Craigslist. Samu Liu started off not having any contacts, and Craigslist was his main resource. So he used to browse the ads and he used to respond. He would go out for these jobs, and he was really struggling at one point. He was a stock model, right? So he
Yeah. Yeah.
was doing that kind of work. Even if somebody Googles stock
Wow.
photography,
Yeah.
Simu
Yeah.
Liu, it's possible to see some of the work he did as a stock photo model. He didn't have any contacts. He was encountering scammers on Craigslist, but he persisted because of that pure love that you described earlier. That pure love can be a guiding force, and
Yeah.
it can allow a creative person, somebody in the arts, to endure and to be committed to their dream, even when they encounter obstacles. And Simu Liu, as we all know, has become phenomenally successful,
Yeah.
and he faced opposition. He comes from a home that, focused on academic achievement and solid
Mhm.
jobs. His parents were encouraging him to become an accountant. They immigrated to Canada. His parents immigrated, and Samuel Liu arrived in Canada at a young age, and his parents worked very hard, and they're both aerospace engineers.
Mm, wow.
So
Yeah.
he faced opposition, but he was holding tight onto his dream, onto that pure love, and it paid off. So
Yeah.
I just had to share that because it
Yeah. Yeah.
overlaps with your story. It definitely reminds me what you've shared reminds me of what Simu Liu mentioned in his memoir. So, Armin, any words of support you can share with young creatives dealing with parents or other loved ones that are in opposition of their pursuit of a career in the arts?
Yeah. I think my advice would be just to, I don't want people who have a love for this creation or acting, directing, filmmaking, even theater arts, any creative direction they want to go into, to not look at it realistically. To me, there's a lot of obstacle in this business, and the more they know about it, the better they can get prepared. And I think when they're talking to their parents, if they're young and they're talking to their parents, and their parents are saying, "Look, you know, you got to go to school. This is not easy. This is hard. This is a hard life." I think they're coming from a place of love. They're not coming from a place of hindering them not to do what
Yes,
they want to do. Yeah.
exactly.
So yeah, so I think they're coming from a place of love and kindness because they're worried about their child. They want to make sure that they do well, better than themselves. It's every parent's dream for their child to do better than how they did. So that makes sense to me. So my advice would be listen to them. Don't just say no because they're coming from a place of love and they want you to do best, but go after your dream. If you want to go after it. Don't stop yourself, but also be a realist. Give deadlines to yourself. Give some sort of a milestones for yourself. Don't just sit there and say, I'm going to make it big, because I feel like those days are gone. There is no more making it big. There really isn't, because influencers right now are making a difference on social media. And to me, that's the new making it big, is not so much the actors anymore. It seems like um, actors are coming and going. They don't have a like the actors that had a body of work. They're all coming from, I don't know, the 80s, the 90s. They're not the new ones. The new people who are making it into the acting world or the directing world, uh, they're not making as much films as they used to, because there are so many fresh faces these days on streaming channels everywhere. So fine, no problem. I mean, I tell people this, that pursue it, but be a realist. Don't just dream about it, but execute it correctly so you can get to where you want to get to, and have you can satisfy your parents saying, look, I'm doing fine. I'm working, but I'm also pursuing my career, and it's great. And if your career takes off to a point that it's like incredible, then by all means, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure your parents aren't going to come and say, "Hey, listen, you're making gobs of money. Stop it. That's not good. Go be a lawyer."
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
I don't think
exactly.
that's going to happen. So I think everybody has different way of looking at things, but I want to reiterate this, that don't look at your parents that they want the worst for you. They want the best for you. So even
Yes,
though you feel at that moment, oh, they're hindering me, they don't want me to go in follow my passion. I don't think that's it. I think there's more to it than that. So
yes. All
yeah.
right. Your son Carlo is graduating from high school
Oh,
this year. I
yes,
know, I know Carlo was in Pride Jewel. It was a cameo role. If
yes.
he ever tells you that he would like to become an actor, get into the film industry, or become a
Yeah.
creative of some sort, what
Yeah.
advice would you give Carlo?
I'm gonna kill him, Karen. I'm gonna say there's no way you're going into it. Um, First of all, Karen, I gotta be honest with you. So he was 11, and I said, "You're gonna play young Andre." There was a very small cameo. He didn't even have dialogue. He just had to be front of the camera. And
Okay.
no, I think he
Yeah.
was even younger than 11. Anyway, so we put him in there, and I said, this is gonna spark that feeling of wanting to be front of the camera and be
Mhm.
an actor with all these other actors, those kind, the lights, the makeup, the whole thing. And then he goes, God, after he was done and he was home and we were having dinner, and I said, so how did you like it? It was good, right? He goes, God, it took so long. It was so boring. I mean, what is this? So,
Oh,
so I don't think I that's his interest at all. But hypothetically, if one day he's in college and he takes a theater class or a film class or whatnot, and he says, Dad, this is what I want to do, I will be just like another parent. It's not easy, it's hard. Get a practical degree somehow, somewhere you can fall back on, pursue your dream, no problem. But here's the deal. So I think that's what I would tell him. But I don't think he's going to go into that field at all. He's
uh-huh.
more interested into computer science and um, designing games with AI and cybersecurity with AI, all those kind of things. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, that's what he's into. So.
Wow. That's
I,
interesting.
I, as a matter of fact, I told him, you better get a job quick and make a lot of money so you can finance my next movie. That's what I told him.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah.
Y- You attended San Francisco State University and graduated with a Master's of Fine Arts in Film Production and Theater Arts. You also
Yeah.
have a bachelor's degree in mass communications and media studies from Westminster University. What was
Yeah.
your experience like at each university?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll start with my master's. I remember when I got accepted to the program, there was this was a new Master's of Fine Arts degree, meaning they just started in performance, in acting, directing, producing, but it was mainly theater arts. And then I also dabbled in the film, like the cinema department, and I was always there, and I was doing studies there. I was taking classes there as well because I wanted to learn both things. And so what happened was the first 2 years was great, and there was only six of us that was admitted into that program. Only
Really?
six.
Wow.
Yeah. So everybody came really close to it because we would see each other every day. The third year, we were just sick of each other. It was like, enough is enough. We need to go different directions.
Mm,
So it was a great experience. Everybody was great. You were immersed into this creative way of constantly creating. You didn't have to worry about anything else except creating, writing, learning about the history of theater or film. How did filmmakers put a movie together, or how did dissecting Shakespeare, and how they put the whole how did he put the whole play together, like Hamlet, things like that. And it was just a great experience for me because I was really into it and I loved it. And then we would perform every Friday uh, um, afternoon. We had to do a presentation, so we would work on it all week, and then we would perform on Fridays. So it was right up my alley. I really liked it, and enjoyed it. Of course, there were times that we were tired of each other. Like, geez,
mm.
we see each other almost 12 hours every day, and
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm tired of this. I want something else. But we learned from one another, and it was a great experience. And in Westminster College, I remember, or university, when I started, it was great. I really liked it. I did my minor actually in theater arts there. I was doing mass communication, journalism, things like that, and then I was doing minor in theater arts, and I would do like whatever plays they would put on. I would go audition and try to be in it, and we would perform in front of our student body or whoever that came to see the play. So it was a great experience there. I made a lot of friends. It was fun. It was a lot of fun for me. And back then it was funny because journalism um, is not as so uh, how do I say it? Right now, I think journalism has become more of a entertainment. If you
Mm.
turn on, I don't know, CNN, Fox,
Yes.
ABC News, well, it's more of an entertainment these days. It's not, to me, it's not really diving into the story that deep anymore because if you notice every, I don't know, 2 minutes or every minute and a half, there's a commercial.
Mhm.
And then they go on to another story. And it's like, how can you really dive into a story to see what's happening in a country or a news story that matters to people anymore?
Mm-mm.
Because it's all about shock value to get ratings. So it was just different back then. We really dive into stories. I wrote for my school newspaper for a while. Then I did
Mm.
internship for one of the newspapers in the city, which was really good. Great experience. Learned a lot from the editors. So yeah, I mean, but I had a good time. It was good. It
It
was a lot of
sounds
fun.
it sounds
Yeah.
like it. It sounds like it was an amazing experience. I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that San Francisco State University has a number of notable alumni that have achieved
Yeah.
remarkable success in film, TV, and media. Some examples are Danny Glover. He went to
Yes.
San Francisco State University, Annette Bening, and Dana
Yes.
Carvey.
Yes.
That's incredible. Are you in touch with anybody that you went to university with?
No, although the people you mentioned, and there was another person that was, I didn't meet him. He went there, was Steven Zolian. He's a very famous screenwriter. He wrote Schindler's List, an
Oh,
Armenian. Yeah,
wow.
he's Armenian too. He wrote Schindler's List. He wrote American Gangster. He wrote Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yes.
Yeah, he directed Bobby Fischer. I don't know if you saw that movie. He's an incredible talent, honestly. Just the stuff he did, his body of work. I don't know what he's doing now, but he graduated from San Francisco State. And then I used to go to this summer program in San Francisco called ACT. I don't know if you heard of it. Anyways, the American Conservatory Theater. And I know that Annette Bening came there to give a talk with the students. We met her. She was very nice. We didn't meet Danny Glover, but I know he still lives in Oakland,
Mm.
or around the Bay Area. I'm not sure exactly if it's in Oakland or the surrounding areas, but I know that he's a Bay Area icon basically. And then there were a lot of people in San Francisco that were huge, um, had a huge impact on entertainment, like Francis Ford Coppola. His brother was the dean of our department. So
Really?
yeah, and we met with him, and I talked to him. Very nice man. He says, "Yeah, my brother is working on this. He's working on that." It was
Mhm.
just like incredible. It was just like next door. It was like having coffee and talking.
Uh-huh.
And I remember Francis Ford Coppola. I don't know if he still has his studio Zortrop. It was a they made a lot of films. I think he did Godfather in that studio to edit it, post production, all that stuff. So he has huge ties to the Bay Area. And then I met Chris Columbus. Chris Columbus made the movie Mrs. Doubtfire, The
Mm.
Goonies, the first Harry Potter movie, Stepmom. I don't know if you heard of these movies, but
Yes.
yeah, I was teaching screenplay filmmaking to seven and eighth graders at a San Francisco school in called Stewart Hall for Boys. And because his son was going to that school, I invited him to come and talk to the kids. So we got a chance to talk to him and how he got into the business, how he got involved with Steven Spielberg, and how he started, making all these movies. And to this day, he's still making films. So it was an incredible experience to learn from all these people, and it just validated what I was in, what I wanted to do. It just even, really made a difference for me. Um,
Mm.
we met a lot of people at that school, actually. I remember Robin Williams' kids were going to that school, and he would come and pick up his kids and talk to everybody. And I talked to him very briefly, a couple of times. And what he was working on, I think, Mrs. Doubtfire,
Mm.
because the house that they shot it in, the
Mhm.
house he was in, it was two doors from the school.
Okay.
So we would see them, doing the movie. Like we would literally see it that they were shooting the movie once in a while over there. And it was
Hmm.
just incredible. It was just great. That was when a lot of movies came to San Francisco. They were shooting a lot of films there
Mm.
during when I was living there. So it was great to see all these things happening in the city. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
I can
yeah,
imagine. I
yeah.
know
It was
that you
great.
started a production company, In Focus Theater and Film Productions, when you were a university student.
Yes,
Did
yes.
you have any extremely memorable experiences while operating the production company that you would like to share with our listeners?
Sure. It's interesting. So the main actor that is in Pride Jewel, his name is Jake Vincent. Jake and I knew each other. He was in my first film, which was called The City. It was my short film I ever made, and I casted him to be in the movie. So
Mm,
he did the short film, and I didn't see him for roughly 20 years. And then when I decided to make Pride Jewel, he auditioned and he got the part for the main
mm,
role. So it
mm-hmm,
was like, this is, it was incredible to me that after I didn't even keep in touch with him for 20 years. So it
mm.
was incredible to me to see this sort of a circle from my first movie to
Yes,
the, first feature film. It's the same guy, little
yes,
older, but the same guy playing the main character in the movie. It was
mm-hmm.
incredible.
Yes,
So
wow.
yeah, so that's when I started with that company. There were a lot of memorable moments with that small company. I wanted to um, learn how to produce, really, how to have more control over my content at that early time, at that early age. I want to make sure that I know how to put a play together, how to produce it, how to market it. Then I went into making short films because I was interested in films, and I did that. Okay, how do I put that out there? Even though the quality wasn't great or the production value wasn't great, it was a great way to learn how film works and how audio works and how locations work and even catering works.
Mhm.
So,
Yes.
yeah,
Hmm.
great
Yeah.
experience. Great experiences. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk about the plays that you were producing. After you graduated from university, you were
Yeah.
producing plays in San Francisco. What were the plays about? Are there any related themes regarding the subject matter you preferred to focus on when you were working in theater?
Yeah, so one of the plays that I did and I wrote was called Fragile. And Fragile was just a one-man show, and it had four characters, like a homeless person, business person, that kind of a thing. And I did that for a while in San Francisco, and that did well. It didn't do too bad, but I wanted to, I guess, test out my acting chops to see how, if I can change characters quickly and really believable. So it was one of those kind of pieces that I wanted to do. I got, when I started the play, when I wrote it, I really liked it. A lot of people liked the play. But when I started acting it at the beginning, I was very nervous because I remember the first show. Boy, I felt so bad. I said, "What? This really was bad. This was a bad, bad show."
Oh,
I mean, people were very nice, but I felt it was bad. But as time went by, the more you do it, the better you get. And so I found different ways to approach the characters. I grew the character. I changed it around, and by the third week of the show, or I think even second week of the show, the show was different. It felt better. It was more smoother. So I did that, and then we produced several shows. And I was in few of them. I played a couple of characters. Like it was a Shakespeare one, I remember we did. It was such a long time ago. And then I I can't remember what the exact play was we did with Shakespeare, but I know it was a Shakespeare play. And then we did a lot of Chekhov. We did a lot of those avant-garde sort of plays that were popular back then, I guess, that people went for the acting and I don't know, the storyline to figure it out what it meant. And and we were really involved with that. Unfortunately, as time went by, people's and the invention of internet and TikTok and I don't know, all those kind of things, attention span went, like you better get everybody's attention in the first 3 seconds or you're done. And
mm,
that doesn't happen in a play. It takes time to build the characters.
yes.
And then, yeah, and then, but to me, Karen, that's just the evolution of this business. Nothing stays the same. Things need to change. And as I guess my advice would be to artists to evolve with the process. don't stay in, don't fight it so much. Make good content. I'm not saying don't make good content, but you need to evolve if you're going to survive it
Mm-hmm.
because people's taste changes. Uh, People don't go to the theater as much unless it's a musical, Broadway shows, Las Vegas shows, live events, things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
real theater pieces, it's hard to get audiences in there these days for a
Mm-hmm.
play. For a
Okay.
movie is different. Yeah. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
No problem at all.
Yeah.
So getting back to these plays, how did you come across the opportunities to produce the plays? These days, people in the arts often leverage the internet and networking. They use social media to learn about work opportunities in the arts. What are some of the main business resources that you use to uncover the opportunities?
Yeah, so well, back then when I was doing in Focus Theater and film company, all I did was just pick up the phone and call the theater. There were a
Mm-hmm.
lot of small theaters in San
Mm-hmm.
Francisco, and you would just call and say, "Listen, how much does it cost to rent the place?" Like that.
Oh, okay.
How much does it play? So because I want to produce my play in there, how much would it
Yes.
cost? And
Mm-hmm.
they would give me a price, and I go, "Well, are you open to like, can we share the box office so I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to pay upfront costs?" Because we were younger, money was tight. How are we going to produce these things? So, and not to depend on investors or anything like that. How are we going to do it? So it was a lot of creative way of thinking about producing out of the
Mm-hmm.
box, not your norm, not, okay, go shell out, I don't know, 5 grand every weekend to rent the place so you can do your play. That wasn't going to fly with us. And second of all, we didn't have 5 grand just to give it to somebody to let us do the play. So we would negotiate, hey, can we share the box office? Can we do the play? Whatever we make, you get 50%, we get 50%. So
Mm-hmm.
even if the play doesn't do well, you're not out of, you're not out of money, like nothing happens. You're still ahead, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
So I bring that kind of thinking to now that with financing a movie, financing it, you have to think out of the box and you always have to put yourself in the investor's shoes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do I produce something uh, and so the investor doesn't lose money? What do I
Mm-hmm.
do? And the way
Yes.
I look at opportunities, the first thing I look at is how can I create the opportunity for myself, not look outside of myself,
Mm-hmm.
because that way I have greater control over what I want to do. The
Mm-hmm.
second is there's a lot of trade magazines that you can look at. There's a lot of jobs in post-production, not so much in the creation. If you're going to create, you better rely on yourself, like the writing of it, because there's a lot of screenplays out there. There are a lot of scripts. I get scripts that people send me. They say, "Hey, can you produce this for me? It's only going to cost $3 million. It's only going to cost, I don't know, $2 million." And I feel like, first of all, how are you going to go about this? So we have a series of questions we ask people, like, how are you going to position this so not only we don't lose money, but we give you what you want. We get you to your next project. So, but a lot of filmmakers people have a lot of scripts that it keeps circulating, but that doesn't mean that uh, it gets made. It
Mm-hmm.
just sits on the shelf. So the opportunity is basically being prepared, and then presenting yourself for the opportunity. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if I'm explaining it correctly, but when you're approaching an opportunity, I'm not talking about editing or post-production or like SEO, like optimization or web design or anything like that. You have a time deadline and the client wants a website. Okay, no problem. Here's your design. Do you like it? And we go about it, and everybody gets paid and they go their way. I'm talking about if you're a filmmaker or a creator and you want to make a film, uh, how do you go about presenting yourself to an investor or to a producer or whoever to say, hey, I want to do this thing and I like, and here's what I've done. Here's my homework that I've done for the movie, and this is what I'm thinking in positioning it. Even
Hmm.
then, Karen, I'll be transparent with the listeners. 97% is a no. The answer is a no. Nobody, like I said, it's very difficult to penetrate the no, the people who say no. But persistence counts. And if the more knowledgeable you are, I think people will take more risk with you than
Hmm.
saying, "Forget this guy. I don't want to work with her or him. I don't want to work with them. I don't want to. They don't know anything about the industry, so why even put a dollar into their project?" So, um, so opportunities come that way. I think opportunities are more in the, like I said, post-production. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, that's where I see it mostly. At least
Hmm.
that's my experience.
Hmm.
Some people may have different experiences, but my experiences has been that it's been mostly post-production. So
That's that's great information for our listeners. Thank you, Armin.
sure,
So,
sure.
so earlier you were talking about the importance of evolving, of growing, of adapting. Now, In Focus Theater and Film Production started off producing plays and then transitioned into producing films. What made you decide to move away from producing plays?
Oh, simply because people weren't coming to see it anymore. I
All
just
right.
felt like at that early stage, I was seeing the decline in audience attendance. It
Hmm.
was, so I'll explain it this way that maybe listeners will understand. Whenever a musical would come through the town, like, the Broadway shows that they had, uh, they did it on Broadway and now it's on touring, it would come to San Francisco. Those plays were sold out all the time. But when you had a traditional, you know, what I call real theater, that's
Hmm.
not like musical, not that I'm saying musicals aren't real theater. That there's a lot of work, and I have great respect for that kind of work because it takes a lot of work to put those productions on. But I'm talking about if you're a you're a fan of good acting, interesting plays that you have to try to figure it out, or what the meaning of the whole piece is, those declined because I don't know what it is. It's a lot of hard work to do that. Like on a Saturday night, you want to go out, or on a Friday night, you want to go out and you want to get entertained. You don't feel like sitting and really taking a, I don't know, heavy duty play and really decipher it. Sometimes some plays can be depressing because of the message or whatever. So I saw the decline early. I saw, nah, Friday night is usually I want to go get entertained. I want to listen to some good music. I want to see a huge production. Have a couple of drinks afterwards. It's a fun evening. It's not about I worked all week long. I wasn't thinking making theater just for, how do I say, only for my people who are in theater arts or in film business. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make it for the masses so you can survive, you can monetize a little bit, so you can make your next project. So when I saw that decline, I said, nah, this is not this is not gonna do well. I transitioned into film, started making short films, tried to figure it out. And then I guess I was off to the races with Pride Jewel, and here I am now, doing
Hmm.
other projects. Yeah,
Hmm. Yes.
yeah.
You mentioned the city earlier, and
Yeah.
I'm reconnecting with Jake Vincent. So, when you were operating in Focus Theater and Film Productions, you wrote, directed, and produced The City, this short film, and that was back in 2002. Can you tell our listeners what The City is about?
Yeah. The city came to me when I saw a homeless man in San Francisco. I would
Hmm.
I used to when I was in college I used to work at a retail store, you
Hmm.
know, and it was just a part-time job that I had, and then I would go to college and all that, or to to San Francisco State University. But anyways, I would pass this homeless man every day, and one day, as I was passing the guy, he said, "Hey, can you spare some change?" I go, um, "I'm sorry, I just don't have any," because I was tired of constantly giving money. Because I did it a few times, and then I said, "Well, this is crazy. I can't give every time I pass. I got to get a change. I got to get a couple of dollars." So he was angry, and he said to me, "You know the difference between you and me is just you got nice clothes and I don't. That's the only
Hmm.
difference. We are."
Hmm.
I don't know why that stuck with me, like because I felt like you're a step away from that. It's just circumstances that makes people different, I guess, or in
Hmm.
different circumstances, not different, but you're in different circumstances between homelessness, having a home, or renting a place, or having a roof over your head. It's it's just circumstances, luck, parental guidance, people supporting you. It's all that. And so I wanted to create something that a businessman who's very, I don't know, and I don't know if you saw the movie. It's a very short film, but the message was, this man, businessman is rich, a lot of money, and the homeless man says, "Hey, man, you see me every day here. Can't you give me a couple of dollars?" And the businessman says, "Why don't you go get a job or work? You're out here every day. You're a bum. You're a nobody." And the same thing happens to the businessman later on in the movie, that he becomes homeless because he can't make his sales numbers at work, and he gets fired, and he's out on the streets now because he can't make a dollar anymore. And it was just karma coming back to him. And so, that was the gist of the movie, that people should be humble, I guess. They shouldn't judge so quickly, I guess. That was the message of the movie, I guess I was trying to say.
Hmm. That's
Yeah.
remarkable. Wow. Wow. So there was that pivotal moment when you were interacting with that homeless individual, and then that inspired you to create a film around that topic of the differences between people and really looking beyond the surface.
Yeah,
It,
I mean, usually that's how stories come to me. Uh,
Mhm.
it's usually something happens to me, or I experience something, and I say, this is a good message, or this is a
Yes.
this is a good movie, and that's how I go about it. Yeah.
Hmm. I read about how you were disappointed with the production value of The City. The City was your very first short film. Are there
Yeah.
things you now know about writing, directing, and producing that you wish you had been aware of when you were working on The City?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Uh, I think the first thing I learned, have a great DP. Don't just get a DP, director of photography. I mean, don't just get somebody. You better know who the person is, how good they are, because that is the heart of the film for me, is the visual, how you want to tell your story. So my DP, when I hired him, I didn't know anything about the business. It was my first short film. So I just got somebody to do it for me, and they didn't do a very good job. And then when excuse me, when we were at post-production, I saw all the flaws. I saw all the problems and how are we going to edit this piece and put it together. So it was a learning curve. I mean, you have to learn it. I made a lot of mistakes even with Pride Jewel, I learned. And that was a feature film. It was a 90-minute film. I learned a lot from that, even though Doug Thompson, a great guy who directed the movie, we both learned a lot. I was the producer, I was the writer, but I learned great deals how to compromise, how to make sure every shot is right, every frame is right, the actors are right. Yeah, those are all lessons you learn every movie you make, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I know
So
that the I know that the screenplay you wrote for The City still resonates with you. Is it because of that experience with the homeless man, or is it for some other reason?
that's great question, actually. Uh, uh, It resonates with me, Karen, is because simply, uh, you know, people go through life or they go through experiences, and some people see being humble is better than being arrogant about their life. Because honestly, it's circumstances that makes that happen. It's not about, it's kind of hard for me to explain, but it's not about just simply you wake up one day and you're homeless. It doesn't happen that way. Uh, I mean, I know there are children who are homeless because their parents are homeless, but there are a lot of people who have a life, they have work, they have businesses, but any of that can go away in a minute. It can. I think people should be more in living in gratitude
Mm-hmm.
instead of being arrogant and unkind to one another. And I mean that even in the industry. I know that there are a lot of producers, a lot of directors, a lot of, that are a little arrogant about the whole thing. Like if it's a new filmmaker comes to you, wants something like, hey, I wrote this, or emails them or something, don't just not respond. Don't just push them away, even though I know people are busy. I'm not saying, you know, to answer every email, but I'm just simply saying, just try to be kind and try to be humble, and sharing your advice isn't gonna drop in your net worth. It's not. It's not gonna drop on your, it's not gonna affect your next movie or your next, I don't know, business venture. It's okay to be kind and share your ideas and share your experiences. That's how people learn and connect. And to me, that's very important because otherwise, um, living in that state of arrogance all the time, you never know what's going to happen in life. You don't want to get you don't want to be, I guess, later on tell yourself, why did I do that? Why do I have to be this way to another person? And so that homeless man really resonated with me because the poor guy, I mean, I'm sure if you give him a job, if he had a home, he wouldn't be in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's his circumstance. It's his support
Yes.
system wasn't there. His
Yes.
spirit is broken.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Or
Yes.
I'm not saying that a lot of people aren't, um, addicted to substance abuse and things like that, or have have other um, life circumstances. I'm not taking that lightly. But again, that's just simply because maybe you don't have the support system behind you. So
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
You also produced another short film, Blind Fate. Was this an in
Oh,
focus?
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Uh,
Go ahead.
You're chuckling, so I know you've got a lot to say, and I can't wait to hear your response. So, was Blind Fate an In Focus theater and film productions project or a 4D Legacy Studios one?
No, if I remember it correctly, that was made long time ago too. Yeah, it was an in focus theater. I hadn't started 4D Legacy Studios yet. 4D Legacy Studios happened in 2019. We started
Hmm.
the company in 2019. This one was still under In Focus Theater and Company, and yeah, I mean, we shot that movie in New Jersey, and that was an interesting experience. Well, a friend of mine named Jeff Gottlieb, very nice guy. He directed that movie. I wrote the movie, I produced it, but he directed it. But boy, oh boy, I wasn't a fan of the main actors because I felt like they were very nonchalant about their acting ability, so it didn't come out as well as I wanted. But you know, when you're making a movie and when you have a director, as a producer, of course, you have the what do you call it? You have the final say on the whole production, but you also don't want to get into the director's way because two cooks in the kitchen can, ruin the movie altogether. So
Yes.
I didn't want to give directions, but I really didn't like the actors that much. I felt like they did a very poor job, and it
Hmm.
showed later on in the
Hmm.
movie. But, the director liked it. They thought it was okay. So I just went with it. And once you're in the process of making a movie, you don't want to back out in the game, especially when you're making a short film, because money has been already spent. You have certain shots of a certain actor. You can't fire them at that moment, you know? So you
Hmm.
try to make the best of it
Yes.
as and try to really do well in post-production so the effect of the badness isn't too much in the movie. But
Yes.
yeah, go ahead. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yes. When many people are starting their careers in arts or entertainment, they often encounter lots of competition, and it can be a struggle to obtain opportunities that are financially sustainable. So they sometimes have to get a day job and end
Yep.
up having to pursue their passion as a side hustle. Did you ever have to moonlight or get a job outside of the industry in order to survive during the early years?
Absolutely. I used to have a company called Tutors R Us, and we were in education basically. I mean, we tutored. I was the executive director, and I would get the tutors or whatnot. But that's how we kept the lights on, and kept going. But in the evening, again, we were back. I was back to writing, trying to develop stories. How am I going to produce it? So yeah, yeah, definitely. I was involved with that. But again, it was my own business. It wasn't like I was working for somebody. I was doing it on my own, which I don't know, my personality lends itself to that kind of a environment.
Hmm.
I like the idea of starting something and hopefully growing it. And Tutors R Us was just that. We
Hmm.
did that. I think we did that for good, I don't know, 15 years, something like that. Yeah, we did it for a long time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a great experience, Karen, actually. I met a
Hmm.
lot of great people, great educators, and
Hmm.
the kids we tutored, oh my God, they were great. There so
Hmm.
much there. So and
Hmm.
and and I also taught, I told you, I was working at Stuart Hall for Boys. It was a private school, and all these guys that had their kids going to that school. I was working at that, teaching screenplay writing, filmmaking, things like that. So yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
Amazing. Now, Day jobs and moonlighting can be essential sometimes, but it can be discouraging when someone has to spend hours doing work that doesn't really interest them. It sounds like you enjoyed the work that you were doing with Tutors R Us, but
Um,
there's
yeah,
also situations when a creative is forced to take on a day job that they're not passionate about. And the day job that they're doing to survive financially might be so intense and energy consuming that the person gets distracted by it and they abandon their passion. So it can definitely take determination and a high level of focus to
yeah.
not give up on one's dream. And I think it's great that you were doing something to keep the lights on that you enjoyed, but not everybody out there is that fortunate. Do you have any
Yes.
comforting words to share with any of our listeners out there that are creatives that are taking on day jobs and
So
part-time positions in order to survive financially, and they're feeling discouraged, drained, or frustrated that they have to spend hours doing work that they don't
yeah,
love?
yeah. Uh, uh, I'll be honest, Karen. I've been there too. It's not that. It's like, when is this gonna happen? When am I gonna get my passion project done? When is it gonna be on the screen? Or when am I gonna tell this story? When am I gonna create my content? Most of my hours are at work. You know. I think personally, I looked at it differently. I looked at it that the day job is getting me closer to what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I didn't look at it like, Monday morning, I gotta go again. You know, don't get me wrong, I had those moments almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
Monday morning, alarm clock goes, oh, geez, maybe I should call in sick or something. But at the end of the day, when you're doing it, even though it's boring, it's it's routine. Um, there's also comfort in that you can keep the lights on. There's that
Yes.
comfort.
Mm-hmm.
You have a roof over your head. There's that comfort. And then also the comfort of, I'm getting closer to what I want to do. I'm getting close. It's not that I'm abandoning it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. Like, I don't know, a month goes by and you don't want to deal with your passion for that time because you're burned out. It's okay. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a feeling artists that are into it and they want to create things, they
Mm-hmm.
always come back to it. They can't
Mm-hmm.
completely abandon it. They
Yes.
cannot, because it's in their DNA almost.
Mm-hmm.
So my advice would be, don't get discouraged. Look at it as that it's building a stronger character in you to get to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when you have those, and I don't want to make it too kumbaya, everything is going to be okay. I don't want to make it sound, because there are times that's going to be really rough. You don't
Mm-hmm.
want to feel like doing anything. You
Yes.
want to just veg out. You just don't want to do anything. And that's okay too. That's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yes.
But trust your instinct, because you're going to go back and create again. So,
Mm-hmm. All
yeah.
right. You have
Yeah.
held leadership. You have held leadership. That was a little bit of a tongue
No worries. No
twister
worries.
for me.
Yeah.
So you have held leadership positions with companies that are not in the film industry, and the roles you had weren't related at all. So you've mentioned that you were the executive director of Tutors R Us, and I know that you were involved with a company, MedSherp. How did
Yeah.
these leadership roles prepare you for starting and operating 4D Legacy Studios?
Um, I mean, what I remember was just um, learning business, meaning uh, how to first of all monetize. What does it mean to monetize? What do you do to monetize? What does it feel like to, uh, let's say you're in charge or managing employees. how would when I was doing Tutors R Us, Karen, I was always worried about payroll sometimes. That's a great strain on someone because you don't want your employees not to get paid. You want to
Mhm.
make sure that it's generating constantly. So
Mhm.
that forces you to be creative. That
Mhm.
forces you, how do I get to that point so I don't have to worry about this all the time,
Mhm.
about how to generate. I'm not saying the headache isn't there. It's
Yeah.
always there. You're always worried about it because a business has expenses. You have to keep up with it. And the highest expense is your employees. People need to get paid, have benefits, whatever. But those leadership positions always taught me that to always think about how to think creatively, how to think out of the box, how to come up with different ideas, how to speak up about those different ideas, and how to, which was very important to me, execute the idea because
Mhm.
that's where it is. It's the
Mhm.
execution. You can be
Mhm.
talking about it all day, but if you don't execute it, it's no good. So,
Mhm.
and
All
and
right.
also I think you need to know when to have an exit strategy. If an
Mhm.
idea isn't working, abandon it. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. So, what shaped your decision to not focus entirely on theater and film and to look at companies in other fields? Like you mentioned that you became involved with Tutors R Us for financial reasons, right?
Sure.
What about MedChirp? I know you were involved with MedChirp and Tutors R Us from 2009 to 2018. In order
Yeah.
to pay the bills and survive financially, maybe you could have worked, in more of a cinema environment. Like maybe
Sure.
there were survival jobs that are related somewhat to TV, film, and media, but I view you as stepping completely outside of TV, film, and media for some years and,
Yeah.
dabbling with other things. Anything to share about stepping away from TV, film, and media? I know you were still doing it somewhat, like you didn't abandon it
Sure.
totally, that pure love was still there. But tell me about that leap, right? Like going into tutoring or,
Yeah.
MedChirp. Maybe you can talk about what MedChirp does. Anything to share about the way that Tutors R Us and MedChirp are so different from what you studied in university and your true passion?
Yeah. So for years there, I wanted to completely abandon filmmaking and because it was so competitive. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't going anywhere. I was tired of it. I was like, let's get serious a little bit. If you have that, skill for business and all that, let's go a different direction completely. Let's see where it takes us. And I must admit that I enjoyed Tutors R Us. I thought it was a lot of fun
Mm-hmm.
because it was with educators. It was still creative for me in a
Mm-hmm.
way. So I enjoyed that. But that was one of the biggest reasons because I was tired of
Mm-hmm.
the business not going anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then with MedChip was basically you can call it it was an app. It was a tech company basically, which was into medical insurance. But it was again, it was a business that was in a way creative. It was an app. You could create things on the app. There were other people involved with it, which I was learning from. So it was good, but we had an exit strategy for that business. That business, the competition got really rough. And if we didn't get rid of it, we would lose more money. So it was like, okay, time to go to another thing,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes. So and that's when 4D Legacy Studios came about because I started learning about, wait a minute, maybe this is going to have a chance again
Mm-hmm.
because the streaming took off.
Yes.
That means independent filmmakers could now make a movie and distribute it, those things weren't really available that much
Mm-hmm.
or easily done. But now it's easily done. You can distribute your own movie. You can get together with aggregators and get your film on these major streaming platforms. So all of a sudden it became more accessible. So I said,
Mm-hmm.
wait a minute, there's an opportunity there. Let's
Mm-hmm.
make it and see what happens. And that's how 4D Legacy Studios came about. And this is where we are. And if you can see right now, digital marketing, digital content, content creation, it's so huge now. It's a
Mm-hmm.
huge part of any business, any
Mm-hmm.
business. All
Yes.
businesses have profiles on TikTok, Facebook, God knows what. If you don't have it, you can't do business.
Yes.
So, and that was one of the reasons I thought, okay, let's go this direction.
Mm-hmm.
And,
All
and
right.
hopefully, yeah, yeah. So those
Yeah.
were the reasons why, yeah.
Yes, interesting. All right. So 4D Legacy Studios, was there a specific turning point or experience that made you realize you wanted to create a studio that not only makes films, but also supports other filmmakers?
Yeah, the turning point was that I got really burned the first
Mm-hmm.
time I distributed Pride Jewel with a distributor.
Mm-hmm.
They were a predatory sort of a distributor, and I
Mm-hmm.
got burned, but I didn't know anything about it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was, I was learning. So I promised myself that I hope that this is not going to happen to another filmmaker because I
Mm-hmm.
know how much time, effort, money goes into these things. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just one day you get up and you decide, you know something, I'm going to go dump $500,000 making a movie or $1 million making a movie. I mean, I guess some people can if they have it, but it's you're still spending that money, but you have to have the strategy, you have to know what you're going to do with that money, how it's going to be allocated to different things. And so when I got burned from the first film, I said never again. And that's why I got into distribution and consulting. And our consulting is free actually. It's we don't charge upfront fees for anything for the
Mm-hmm.
first hour or 45 minutes, whatever it is. I mean, people can connect with us if they want to learn a little bit about how to strategize. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, but that was the idea. That was why I wanted to get into distribution and having more control over my content.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And the film industry is so vast, and there are different paths a person can pursue. So, thank you for clarifying and explaining your reason why you have chosen to specialize in production, distribution, and sales.
Sure, sure, no problem, no problem.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship can require courage and guts. When you made the decision to create 4D Legacy Studios, did you have any fears or doubts? And if so, how did you overcome these feelings? What advice can you share with entrepreneurs operating startup companies in film, TV, or media?
Yeah. Well, I still get up with fear every morning and
Mhm.
think about how I'm going to do things differently, how to think creatively. It's always there, it's back of your mind. What if it works? What if it doesn't? But I've come to feel comfortable with the fear or cope with the fear. And when you're starting up, it's a natural feeling to have those feelings, to be fearful, like
Mhm.
where is this going to go? What am I going to do? The point is that when you start doing it every day, have some sort of a plan that you're going to execute by end of the day. I
Mhm.
think that's important. It could be something very small. It could be just simply, I'm going to reach out to few investors. I'm going to reach out to few vendors to see how they feel about, you know, selling my products or whatever business you're in. I think if you have some sort of a a plan in place from the get-go instead of just jumping into it, you feel the fears go away because you're working towards the bigger picture here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the fear never, well, for me, I guess I don't say to myself what ifs. I say let's do it. If it doesn't work, at least you tried it. That's how I
Mm-hmm.
look at it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be my advice. Try it, but always know when your exit, you have to have an exit strategy. Don't marry your idea so much that you're
Mm-hmm.
not seeing the pitfalls.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes with business folks or startups, they're married to the idea so much
Mm-hmm.
that they can't see, oh, maybe we should listen to this guy, or maybe we can try this idea for a little bit to see where it takes us. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
bec- I also think that you can't do the same techniques every day, and if it's your business is not growing, you got to change your techniques. You got
Yes.
to change your strategy. So
Yes.
if you can't recognize that, you're doomed. I mean, you're
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be out of business.
Mm-hmm.
So um, you know, you just have to make the correct choices and have people around you that are grounded. They're
Mm-hmm.
not too they're not, dreaming is great. Dreaming is fantastic. It's a wonderful thing, but not to have too many dreamers around you. You also want to make sure you have people who are strategy driven. How do we execute it? How do we get to the next point? Those are very important, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
4D Legacy Studios' claim to fame is the feature film Pride Jewel, which was released in 2022. It was selected by 14 film festivals around the world.
Yeah.
Pride Jewel won numerous awards, including Best Screenplay at the Los Angeles Film Awards Festival. What are some of the other awards that Pride Jewel has won?
Oh, when the movie was done, it won Best Action Film in the Paris Film Festival. It
Hmm.
wasn't for the screenplay, but it was for the movie itself. Then I think it won Jaipur as well. It won winner at Jaipur Film Festival in India.
Hmm.
Again, it was the movie itself. Those are the two that comes to my mind right now. But it won a lot of screenplay award. They liked the story of the movie. So there were numerous ones. There was the Los Angeles Film Awards. There was the Mediterranean Film Festival that it won there. Where else? Trying to think. Um, Sorry, it escapes my mind. It's on the website, but it won. It won awards and all that, and all those accolades were great. But we used that accolades to market the movie, and that was the reasons why we wanted to enter these festivals. And I'm glad that some of them won, some of them rejected us, but that's okay. That's the name of the game. You get rejected. Some people like it, some people don't. So. That's how we
Hmm.
went about it. Yeah.
Hmm. So, Pride Jewel is about a father and son that are Armenian immigrants that relocated to the San Francisco Bay Area after an earthquake occurred in their Armenian hometown.
Yeah.
The plot of the film centers around Andre, the main character, getting entangled with some jewel thieves. Can you tell our listeners about what inspired you to write Pride Jewel and how the film relates to your Armenian heritage?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is an interesting story. I went to a wedding, an Armenian wedding, and usually when you're at an Armenian wedding, they bring for present, they bring cash. If they just bring cash and they put it for the bride and the groom, and they put it in this box. And then at the end of the night, the groom they give it to the groom and the bride and all that. So, and so I was at this wedding, and I'm going. what if somebody just walks in and takes that box full of cash or checks or whatever and just goes out the door? Nobody would know. There's music, there is, I don't know, a lot of stuff going on. You know what I'm saying? So I said, man, this would be a great movie, I think. And so the idea got inspired there, and then I start building on it. I said, okay, what if they bring jewelry and cash at the same time? What would that be like? What if we make the main character this guy who makes, likes jewelry and wants to do these heists, not just at the wedding, but other places too. So the story evolved as I was going through it, but the inspiration came just by going to this Armenian wedding, and there were like maybe 200 people that were invited, and you can imagine the amount of money that the groom and the bride got. So I was
Yes.
like, anybody can walk out with that
Yes.
cash, you know?
Hmm.
So that was the idea, and I thought it would be, man, this would be a good action film. As a matter of fact, um, this movie was based on true events, not so much the wedding, but the other parts of it, like the jewel thieves and stuff like that. There was a guy like Cyrus, like the main character in the movie, that was doing this in Glendale, California, and that added another piece to the movie when I was writing it. So that's how it came about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Armenian weddings are absolutely legendary. And you have explained how the subject of Armenian weddings is woven into the film's plot. Now, I know your nephew's wedding was in November of last year. I bet your
Yes.
experience making Pride Jewel came to mind during your nephew's wedding.
My God. First of all, it was such a great fun at that wedding. Alec and Rebecca. Alec is my nephew. Rebecca is his new bride. And it was such a fun time. But man, the music was so loud. I mean, I'm telling you, the entire room was shaking. And I go, there is so I immediately thought of Pride Jewel. I go, there's no way anybody's gonna know, if somebody wants to walk out with anything. There's no way. There's no security. I mean, it's all friends and family. Who's gonna know? But yeah, definitely I remember that moment when
Hmm.
when the music started playing. I was going, geez, this is
Hmm.
this is funny, So
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you mentioned Doug Thompson earlier. I know he directed Pride Jewel and you produced it with Megan Louise Phil. When you're selecting producers, directors, cast, and crew to work on films with you, what personality traits and work ethics are important to you? What words of wisdom can you share with the filmmakers out there regarding selecting good partners and team members for projects?
Um, I think the most important part of it is just communication and understanding what we're trying to do. Because you're going to spend time with these people for a while. So you want to make sure that it's a good experience. And we were shooting this movie during COVID, so you can imagine that communication was so important over
Yes.
Zoom, even over
Hmm.
Zoom, because we couldn't be in the same room sometimes.
Yes.
So it was very important to me. So my advice would be just to make sure that you're working with people you like and
Yes.
and that you have great communication with. I think that's important. So some people say, well, how am I gonna gauge that? And I think part of that is before you start doing agreements, before you start anything, is just simply talking about the story, talking about your goals, talking about your how you're envisioning the film, and listen to the other people what their take is on your script, on your story, and how they're envisioning it. And then that's where the collaboration comes in. And then once you start shooting, like with Doug, I remember I didn't get in his way at all. Like I had ideas I wanted to do, I had directions I want to give him, but I promised myself that after we start production, I'm trusting him. He's going to do the best he can with the resources we have, and let's go with it. So I'm glad he did it, and he did a good job. I feel like that there were some scenes that could have been better, or we could have done better, or we could have done other things. But that's besides the point. We made the movie, and that was the most important part. I feel like every movie can do a reshoot. Doesn't matter
Mm.
how good it is, you always want to
Uh-huh.
go back and do things differently. I mean,
Mm.
that's a natural feeling. But
Mm-hmm.
at a point, you got to let go. And
Yes.
uh, and I'm glad I had Doug. I'm glad I had Megan. They were great people. They worked hard. They really did, and they produced this wonderful little film, which is out there now. And I couldn't be more happier the way they worked on the movie and how they supported me as well. So it was great. Yeah.
Yes. And it was a true miracle that Pride Jewel was completed during the COVID-19 pandemic. Talk about adversity and
Yeah.
being faced with obstacles. What was going through your mind when COVID-19 was happening and you had this big dream of filming Pride Jewel at the time?
Um, there were times that everybody was saying, we can't do this. It's COVID. Everything is shut down. And we were in California. And I don't know if you know, California was all shut down. Like it wasn't like Florida or Texas. It was all shut down. So it was like everybody was saying, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? And I said, guys, listen, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to get it done. If we don't do it, we won't do it. Like this moment may pass and we may not ever get a chance to do a movie or to do a feature film. So we decided, okay, we're gonna work with a skeleton crew, very small crew. We're gonna test everybody every day before they hit the set to act, to play the parts and stuff, to make sure everybody's clear. So it was a lot of moving parts for a skeleton crew because and the reason we wanted the skeleton crew was simply because it was COVID. The more people, the more chances of somebody getting COVID. So we try to minimize the crowd, we try to minimize the interactions. So that was challenging. And but the good thing about it, it was great to negotiate with locations because they didn't have any business. So when we went to them and say, "Hey, can you give I don't know, the mansion to us for a couple of days? Are you okay with us coming and shooting there?" And they were like, "Yeah, yeah, go ahead." And so we made agreements. We had more leverage of negotiations, which was great. So at the end, it came together, but we had some tough times there trying to get it done.
Hmm. I can
Yeah.
imagine. Positive self-talk, saying positive, encouraging words to yourself can play a role in being resilient when anybody is faced with adversity. What did you tell yourself at the time to stay motivated and strong when filming during COVID-19?
Uh, it was simply just saying, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get it done. And I also have people who depend on me. We promised these people. I had people who flew from Los Angeles to San Francisco area. So, I promised them that we were going to do this film. So it was more that motivation too that I want to do this film. And also
Mhm.
it was the reason that I didn't want people to think that we weren't gonna accomplish it, that I was really wanting to accomplish the goal, you know?
Hmm. The pandemic was so tough for people with ambitious goals that required face-to-face interactions with other people. And it reminds me of how what you've shared with our listeners reminds me of how Lumen Beltran mentioned the challenge of trying to launch her acting career during COVID-19 when I interviewed her for episode 3 of The Real Grind. Fortunately, like you, the pandemic didn't stop her from achieving her goal. She actually used it in order to generate positive outcomes. And you described how you were able to get good deals on locations as a result of the pandemic.
Yes, yes, I did. I actually did. And it was great. I mean, this helped us to finish the film, really. So
Yes.
yeah, I was really happy about that. That was the one positive point about COVID, I guess, that
Hmm.
places were available. It was easily accessible. So I was happy about that, you know?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
that's good. So there's 5 key stages of taking a film project from concept to distribution. There's development, so script and financing. There's pre-production, planning and hiring. There's the production itself, the filming. There's post-production, so the editing and sound work. And finally, distribution. So, can you take our listeners through these stages? How long did it take you to write Pride Jewel?
Oh, wow. Um, so Pride Jewel took roughly, well, the writing part was easy. Getting it off the ground, I waited, I would say 8 years, 9 years to get it off the ground.
Really?
Because yeah, because everything had to come together. And remember, Karen, it was during that time that I had put aside everything about filmmaking. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to because it wasn't going anywhere. But the writing of the script took about a year, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it shouldn't take that long. It was just, I kept changing it. And it
Mm-hmm.
got to a point that enough is enough. If you're going to do this movie, you know, because no script, even Hollywood films, from script to screen is different. It's not the same movie you see it on script that is on the screen. It gets changed so much. And simply it's because you have to compromise certain things when
Mm-hmm.
you're shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the movie took me roughly about a year, I would say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
How was funding secured for Pride Jewel?
Yeah, funding was is the hardest part, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to convince people that your movie is going to be an Oscar winning movie. A lot of people are going to go see it. So financing is always the tough part. I was lucky, I used some of my own money to put into it. I had a few investors that helped me out. So that's how we brought it together. And we shot it on a low budget, really. It wasn't that much. Well, for an independent film, I think it ended up costing us roughly around I think 200 and some 225, something like that. And then there was the marketing fees afterwards to try to get it out there a little bit here and there. But yeah, it did okay. It did okay. It was our first film, and we just want to make sure we finish a feature film to show the industry that we can do a feature film. And that costs money. It costs money. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the most expensive hobby if you're a hobbyist. If you're a serious filmmaker, it's still the most expensive, uh, I don't know, medium out there when
Mm-hmm.
you're making a movie. It's very expensive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The main stars of Pride Jewel include Sarkis Bakalian as Andre, Jake
Yep.
Vincent as Cyrus, and George Bouders. Did I
Yeah.
pronounce that correctly?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So George Bouders as Joseph. I know that Sarkis Bakalian, who played the main character Andre, is an Armenian American actor who is also a screenwriter and comedian. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Can you describe the process you used for hiring the cast and crew?
So the interesting thing about this movie, Karen, was that nobody auditioned in person because it was COVID. So everybody that auditioned did it through Zoom. And we had to make decisions in that way. Like it was through Zoom, we had to make decisions. I stand corrected. There was only one actor that came in to audition, and it was because we were doing it outdoors during, the COVID was if you're outdoors, it's okay kind of a thing. So we had only one actor, and that was Jake that came in and did it outdoors. And we said, okay, Jake is going to be great in this role. But everybody else was all through Zoom, and we made our decisions that way. Sarkis auditioned from Los Angeles, via Zoom. We were going to fly there to see him in person, but COVID, it was like, it was a moot point because COVID was going to be a problem for us. We couldn't be in the same room or anything like that. So we just decided we'll just do it through Zoom and take a chance. And that's how we did with most of the actors who are in the movie.
Hmm.
But the it's interesting because the first time everybody met one another was the first day of shooting on the set. That was the first day
Remarkable.
everybody met everybody. Thank God everybody liked each other. That was my
Hmm.
whole thing. Yeah.
Yes,
So
thank goodness for that. Which
yeah.
streaming sites can our listeners use to watch Pride Jewel?
Oh yeah, so we're on Amazon Prime Video, Tubi, YouTube Movies and TV. Let's see, Google Play, Apple TV, and internationally they're all over the place. There's a lot of streaming channels that have picked us up as well. So yeah, but the Tubi is great simply because you don't even have to pay for it. It's free. You just it's but it has ads that you have to endure. But otherwise, yeah, it's on Tubi, Amazon, Apple TV, Google Play, YouTube TV and movies, which is one of my favorite places to watch movies is YouTube these days. So
Hmm.
yeah, so there's
Fantastic. So, oh, sorry, go ahead, Armin.
no. Go ahead, Karen. I was just listening. Yeah, go ahead.
Uh-huh. I'm so excited about my next question.
Sure.
So, so you mentioned that it took about 8 years to write Pride Jewel, right?
8 years to get it off the ground, meaning the idea was there, the first draft was there, like I had written the first draft. Pride Jewel went through at least, I say, 8 revisions before we made it.
Hmm.
So,
All
yeah,
right.
so, yeah, but
Yes.
it took 8 years to bring everything together. Yeah.
Hmm. So writing is one of your many talents. You have a book in the works titled Three Sisters. What is the book about?
Yeah, Karen is actually titled Three Women. I've been dabbling with sisters, so I'm sorry if you had the wrong information. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm dabbling between the two titles. Originally, when I started, it's going to be titled Three Women, and I'm not sure if I'm going to change it to Three Sisters. It's basically about three women coming from Middle East and meeting in US and what happens to them as they go through life together and as they get, older together. You know, some of them get married. One of the women get married and the marriage falls apart. One of the women has difficulty with health issues, things like that. But the resilience of these three women was, is incredible. How they are still friends and how they're still going through life together and sticking together and being there for one another. I
Hmm.
think I've written about 10 chapters, but I've put it on the side right now till I go back to it and finish it. So
Hmm.
There's too many things going on all at the same time. What can I
Yes,
tell you?
that's totally understandable. What
Yeah.
work habits have helped you to excel and grow as a writer? Any insights to share with the creatives out there that do lots of writing?
Um, yeah, I mean, I know this is kind of cliche, but write every day, even if your writing is, you're not big fan of your writing that particular moment or that day. The discipline just comes into sitting down and just writing, writing, writing. And again, I know a lot of people are gonna maybe criticize me for this, but use AI to your benefit. Use the tool to your benefit because it can organize some of your ideas. I'm not saying it writes your script, although some of the AI platforms now a can write a screenplay. But the problem with that is that it doesn't have the human touch. It's still very it doesn't resonate like it should. So, but if you have an idea, you want a treatment, you want to break down your ideas so you're more focused, use the tool to help you with that because it
Mhm,
can really, you can use your time efficiently. That would
mhm.
be my advice. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
4D Legacy Studios is actively seeking investors for various film projects in development, such as the feature film Deception Network. What are some other projects in development that our listeners can learn about by viewing the 4D Legacy Studios website?
Yeah. So, yeah, there's Deception Network. It's a large action film, thriller film. So that's one of those films that I would really I think is going to resonate with internationally and domestically. I think. And then we're working on Last Revenge, which is the sequel to Pride Jewel. So that's one of them. Hell's God, there's another film that we're trying to get off the ground. It's a horror film. We're trying to get. I think it's called Hell's. Oh, I can't remember the title right now off my top of my head because it's a working title. So anyway, so that's one of the titles we're working on. There is another film called God, I don't have my website in front of me. Uh, I'm I'm forgetting these names constantly. But anyways, I mean, if people are interested, our in development section is on our website, so people
Yes.
can take a look at it. It's just escaping my mind because we're working on so many different scripts all at the same time. And the main ones that we're working on is Deception Network, Sophie's Miracle, The Haunted or Haunted. That's one of the things we're working on. And the other ones are, like I said, it's on our website that folks can take a look at. And for these films, we're trying to use that uh, the initiative that we were talking about, the film initiative that we're talking about, because these films can be done on a lower budget because of, again, the AI tools that we use. So
Mhm.
if people want to collaborate with us, we're very accessible. They can connect with us, talk to us, any questions they have. We're more,
Fantastic. And
yeah.
Armin, I'm going to take a second to provide our website address to our listeners. So it's www.4, so like the number 4, D like dog. So www.4dlegacy, Legacy studios, so studios plural.com. So www.4dlegacystudios.com. There's plenty of information about the company on the site, including bios of the team members, the latest projects. There's a spot for people viewing the website to provide their email address so that they can receive information about what's new at 4D Legacy Studios. Armin, You have written countless articles on a wide variety of topics of interest to filmmakers and other content creators. Your articles provide information on subjects such as getting funding, AI, trends in Hollywood filmmaking, leveraging IMDb, the popularity of streaming, and much more. You're obviously committed to delivering value to creatives. It's fantastic that these articles can be easily accessed by viewing your LinkedIn profile. I know you're very active on LinkedIn. You connect with people, you're sending them connection requests. If any of our listeners out there would like to submit suggestions for future article topics, how can they share their suggestions with you?
Yeah, I think the best thing, they can always connect with me on LinkedIn. That's not a problem at all. They can also simply email me or email the company. That's not a problem. You can find our email address on our website. You can even contact us through our website. There's a form you can fill out, and we'll get it. But if people want to directly contact me, they can contact me at a Delanchian at 4dlegacystudios.com. And I don't know, should I spell my last name, Karen? What do you think? I don't know
Yes,
if I say. Okay,
please,
okay, okay. Yeah,
please do, Armin.
you got it. You got it. So it's A like Apple, Delanchian, Dilanchian at 4dlegacystudios.com. And like I said, I usually get back to people within 24 hours, or our company gets back to people in 24 hours. So no question is out of bounds. You can ask us anything you like. We're a pretty transparent company, and I like it that way because we just want to make sure that we're working with other collaborators and filmmakers to get their projects off the ground.
Wonderful. There are various TV networks, theaters, universities, and other organizations that are seeking to purchase film licenses. Perhaps you can take a moment to describe the available films in our catalog that are available from 4D Legacy Studios upon request. I know one of them is Let the People Decide. There's
Yeah.
Zero to Zero. Can you describe these films that can be purchased?
Yeah, it could be purchased, it could be licensed. Yeah, let the people decide. It's about the voting rights in America. It's a documentary, which is a pretty powerful documentary, actually. I hope people see it because it really describes the history of the voting rights in America and how things are changing, especially in this political environment. I think that the movie really resonates with audiences. So that's one of them. Let the people decide. And it's also streaming right now on different platforms like, Amazon, Tubi again, those kind of things. But if they want to license it for their specific event or the library or whatnot, they can contact us. Zero to Zero is about a small South African hospital. And it's another great documentary. And this was during COVID and what happened to that hospital and what people went through and the patients. And it's just an inspiring story. And that's another one we're doing. There's, of course, Pride Jewel is available as well. And then there is It's Spring, an Armenian movie. But that one, people need to contact me directly if they want to get more information about that particular movie, because the licensing is a little different since other producers are involved with that particular film. So if people are interested, yeah, they can always connect with us, or they can even call us. Should I give my our phone number, Karen? Did you want me to go ahead and do that?
Yes, go ahead, Armin. That will be wonderful.
Yeah, our phone number, our office number is 310-699-1620. And people can leave a message and we'll get back to them, or they can talk to one of us here. So we're always here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Armin. Thank you so much for all the information that you provided to our listeners today. It's been such a pleasure to interview you. I learned so much from the insights that you shared today.
Thank you so much, Karen, for inviting me. This has been a fun. I went through a journey which I enjoyed. I really did. And I'm sorry I couldn't remember some of the titles as my brain was a little bit foggy. But like I said, everything is on our website if people want to find out more about us. So thank you
Yes,
so much.
you're welcome, Armin. Yes, they can go to 4dlegacystudios.com. Before we wrap, a quick thank you to our sponsor, Lux Leather USA, premium leather jackets built for creators, leaders, and those who move with purpose. If you're ready to elevate your style with something that lasts, visit www.luxleatherusa.com and use code LUX2026 at checkout for 15% off your purchase. That's LUX2026 for 15% off. And as always, stay focused, stay creating, and keep grinding. Thank you for tuning in to The Real Grind.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of The Real Grind. Tune in next week for more filmmaking insights. This episode was brought to you by 4D Legacy Studios, where stories matter.